Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Hicks, and today we're going to do a mini lesson on writing that takes what we know about different kinds of sentences, and we're going to see how we can add sentence variety into our writing. So just as a reminder, we talked about 4 basic kinds of sentences this week, and you've done some activities about those. And now we need to talk about how to take those basic sentences and how can we make them more interesting. Or we may ask ourselves, how do we add variety? So let's take a look at some samples and let's take a look at some ideas and see how we do add variety in our sentences when we're writing. So we're going to start with a basic sentence. The sky is blue. It is your basic declarative statement that just shares information. Well, how can we take this particular sentence and change it to make it more interesting? One thing that we can do is turn it into a question. And when we turn it into a question, it changes how that sentence sounds in our writing. So you might say something like, have you ever seen a sky so blue? Something else that you can do in order to add variety is use an exclamation mark. And when you use an exclamation mark, again, it changes the writing. And you might say something like, what an incredibly beautiful blue sky. It changes the tone and it changes the emotion in the sentence. Another thing we can do is give a direction. See, these should all sound familiar because these are all the basics that we were working with this week. You can give a command or a direction. You should take my advice and check out that beautiful blue sky. So just by looking at the 4 types of sentences that we've made or looked at this week, you can take a basic sentence and make it different and add variety to your writing. There's some other techniques you can use as well that I'm going to share with you. You could combine 2 sentences together to make a new and more interesting sentence. The sky is blue, the sun is shining, and I am as happy as a pig in mud. So I can take what would be 3 separate sentences and combine them to make a new one. So those are some techniques that you can use to change your writing and make it a little more interesting. I will give you another sample. Use a transitional word or phrase. Although I didn't believe it when I heard it, I looked and realized it was true. It was a beautiful blue sky. Okay, so that transitional phrase, although I didn't believe it when I heard it. And then this sentence also throws a dash in here, which is a nice little tool to add a pause in your sentence. And then, of course, you can change the order of the words. Blue, the color of the sky, made the day beautiful. So there's some different techniques that you can use when you're writing to make your sentences different so that we're not just using those declarative statements all through our writing. So I'm going to share with you parts of a story today called All the Places to Love by Patricia McLaughlin. Patricia is a wonderful writer if you've never read anything by her before, and she uses some really beautiful language and sentence structure when she's writing. One of the tools that she uses a lot is that changing the order of the words. So I hope that you'll see that and see if you can locate some examples of how she does that in this story. And also, she uses a lot of varied sentences, an exclamation mark, some questions, some things like that. So while we're reading, I'd like you to pay attention to any places you see where she used some different sentences. She used sentence variety. On the day I was born, my grandmother wrapped me in a blanket made of the wool from her sheep. And there's grandmother holding the baby in the house. She held me up in the open window so that what I heard first was the wind. What I saw first were all the places to love. The valley, the river falling down over rocks, the hilltop where the blueberries grew. So if you're thinking about what you read on this page and you're looking at how the sentences are put together, hopefully you're finding that this is a page where she did change the order of the words. I think a lot of people would write, blueberries grew on the hilltop, but instead she switched the order of those words to say, the hilltop where the blueberries grew. Let's do one more page. And here you see the hayloft. And in the hayloft, you can see that there's some names etched into the wood there. My grandfather was painting the barn when he saw me, he cried. He carved my name, Eli, on a rafter beside his name and grandmother's name, and the names of my papa and mama. And again, here's a situation where the author, instead of putting smaller separate sentences, combined the sentences to make it, again, a little more interesting, a little more beautiful as she's reading. So if you've never read All the Places to Love, I suggest checking it out from the library or checking out at the bookstore next time you're there and see if you can read the rest of All the Places to Love. Well, in order to build some background for our writing this week, I'm going to start by doing some brainstorming. You can brainstorm along with me, or you can wait and do this once the video has completed. But what we're going to do is brainstorm people and places to love. Okay? So when you set up your brainstorming sheet, all we're going to be doing is listing ideas, things that you can think of, and maybe even time yourself. Give yourself a minute or 2 minutes to see how many ideas you can come up with of people and places to love. Okay, so I'm going to just share mine with you a little bit and think through it. I'm starting where I work, where I live, my home is a place to love. And if I want to be more specific, I can say Tampa. The soccer field, for me, that's a wonderful place to be. I love my children. Actually, all of my family, my brothers and my sisters and aunts and uncles and grandparents. I love my dogs. I have 2. I have Gingerbread. And I have Miss Emma June. If you ever hear barking while we're doing one of these videos, well, they're the culprits. Gingerbread and Emma June sometimes can't control themselves, and they do have to bark. So we'll just try to ignore them when they do that. People and places to love. I love books. I have this green chair that I like to read in. I love my green chair. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. I've got just a list of people and places that I love. And as I look at this list and I think about things and places, I'm thinking about what I want to write today. And what comes to mind is to write about one of my dogs today. So I think I'm going to talk about Miss Gingerbread today. So I've come up with an idea sheet, and from those ideas, I am going to write about Miss Gingerbread. And as I'm writing about Gingerbread, I am going to think about using some sentence variety, and I'm going to use that sentence variety, hopefully, to make my writing as interesting as I can make it. Sometimes I'll write it, and I'll put it away for a while, and then I'll take it back out, and I'll check it over for my word choice. I'll check it over to see if I can improve it by adding in more interesting or changing the sentences. And I also check it over for capital letters at the beginning of each sentence and some type of punctuation at the end. All right, so as I'm thinking about my dog Gingerbread, I'm thinking about when I first got Gingerbread. So I think I'm going to tell the story of Miss Gingerbread and how she came to be living in our house. So as I'm thinking about how to start my piece, one of the things that comes to mind is my sentence variety, and I think I'm going to start with a question. And our topic was things that people and places that we love, so I'm going to start with that. I'm going to write a little bit big so you can see it, and I'm going to leave a little space between my words or my sentences, so that I can add things or take things out and make changes later. Okay, so let's start with a question. Have you ever, because I'm going to try to connect with you, my reader, Have you ever loved something so much? And, you know, so much, sometimes you just feel like you don't know what to do because you just feel so strongly and such intense emotions about it. And I feel like, almost like, have you ever loved something so much that it seems you might explode from the feeling? So there, I'm going to start with my question to bring you into my idea. And it's just, you get so overwhelmed with those feelings and those thoughts and those emotions. So, have you ever loved something so much that it seems you might explode from the feeling? So let me introduce gingerbread. Gingerbread not, I'm going to make this, I'm going to put a little transition in here. Not gingerbread, not the Christmas treat, although she really was a Christmas treat to us. Not the Christmas treat, but my sweet dog. Let's see. I'm going to put it, you know what I'm going to do? I was going to say gingerbread, not the Christmas treat, but my sweet dog. I was going to say I call her Gingy for short, but I'm going to make it kind of a command. I want to change that sentence and say instead, you can call her Gingy. And she'll answer and she'll come to you if you call her Gingy or if you call her gingerbread. So you see, so far I've got a question sentence, I've got a statement or a declarative sentence, and then I also have a command sentence or an imperative sentence. Okay? So in just my first 3 sentences, I already have some sentence variety. So what I'd like you to do is write a short story or paragraph, or just express your thoughts. The length might be different based on what you have to say. But what I'd like you to do is write a piece about something or someone that you love or that you have loved. And then I would like for you to try to include some sentence variety in your writing. It is required that you submit this piece of writing for a grade. And I will video a snippet for you with some feedback to tell you what I liked about your writing and to give you some thoughts about where maybe you could make some changes or places where you could put our craft in there a little bit more. So I am going to ask that you please, please, please remember to turn this paper in when you are finished. You can either attach it to a Word, type it on your Word document and send it to me in Edsby. Your parents can attach it to an email in first class and send it to me that way. You can take a picture of it and send it in Edsby. However it's easiest for you to get that to me, get it to me. And if you don't know how to do it, please send Ms. Domas or myself a message so that we can help you upload your pieces of writing, because at this point now there's 3 pieces of writing that you should have submitted to me so that I can give you some feedback and help you become the best writer you can be. All right, guys, good luck. I can't wait to read your writing.